All right, it is time to talk about a title from the sci-fi, fantasy, and weird exploration. It has been a while. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. Today I'm going to be talking all about Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein, and this is something, as I mentioned, I read for my sci-fi, fantasy, and weird exploration, which is something I started back in 2016, and I started it because I consider myself someone who loves science fiction and fantasy, and I was curious about what weird and the new weird was, but I wasn't reading a lot of books from these genres. So I created a list and I have been working my way through them ever since. And this actually is the 37th title that I have read from that list. So Starship Troopers is by Robert Heinlein. It was published back in 1959. It's actually my second Heinlein. I also read The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. It was the 8th title I read for this exploration. This definitely falls under the category of science fiction. I don't think there's any question about that at all. And I think it is pretty much known for being classic military science fiction, as well as I think it's also known for the film that came out in the early 2000s. Was it late 90s, early 2000s? I can't remember. It's probably on here. I know that there was a time. 97. Okay, wow. 1997. So it's been a while since that. And also Heinlein's known for being one of the big three in terms of science fiction authors. The copy I read was 252 pages, and it took me 9 months to read it. I ended up rating it 5.5 out of 10. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because honestly, I think it's clear from that rating that this was not a huge win for me. I was not super surprised at that, given that I really didn't enjoy The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. I came across some of the same challenges that I had with that one, mostly to do with gender, but The Moon is a Harsh Mistress had stuff that I was enjoyed or was curious about, and this one I wasn't getting much from it at all. And I don't know if some of that has to do with the fact that I had seen the film, and it's so tonally different from the film. Like, this felt very serious to me, and the film is so over the top. So it was just confusing to reconcile that. And yeah, so I'm just going to get to my questions that I asked for the sci-fi, fantasy, and weird exploration and just have this hopefully be short and sweet. So why did I choose this? Honestly, it's been so long, I don't quite remember. I think it might have been for Grinchathon, and because one of the challenges for Grinchathon is to read something with green and black for the Grinchathon colors. So I think that is why I chose it at the time in which I chose it. Question number 2 is, did I understand it? Yeah, I understood what was going on when things were happening. To me, it really felt like, it's weird, because on one hand, I felt like it was the plot of the story. We were seeing Johnny go from being young to learning to be in the military to the military being a lot of his life. And so it's this sort of character arc story. But I did also feel like there was commentary there as well that wasn't so much plot based, but I wasn't quite either. At this point, it's been a while since I've read this. At this point, I don't actually remember if I didn't agree with it or I didn't know what it was trying to say. And I kind of felt like it was saying the same thing again and again. And it just really didn't work for me. So the next question is, did I enjoy it? No, to be honest, there is nothing I remember from enjoying reading the book. Nothing. Like, the gender dynamics were bad, but they weren't part of it a lot. But it's just, I mean, like, there was even near the beginning, a lot of it talks about like brutal and quick overpowering people with violence. And I'm just like, why am I reading this? Why am I reading this? No, like, not interested. And even the character of Johnny, like, he was, I didn't get much from him as a character. And I felt like every once in a while, like, there was one of the things that I enjoyed was the discussions and remembrances he had with one of his teachers. That I felt was very valuable. There was something really interesting there, and there was something, but I felt like I never was quite totally in alignment with it. Like, because there was this sort of like edge of, you have to do what you're told, but then someone was also hinting very subtly, you should also think for yourself. And I'm like, like, how can you say those two things at the same time? Or what kind of, like, what's really going on here? You know, and so was it social commentary trying to say you should think for yourself, even though like everyone's going to tell you what to do? I don't know. If it was, that's not what I got from it. I got like a lot of the violence and a lot of the gender stuff, and I wasn't left with much after being frustrated over that kind of stuff. So yeah. So next question. Was it what I expected? No, to be honest. And tonally, it was much more serious and somber. That is definitely influenced by the fact that I've seen the film. But I thought the plot would have been stronger. I really, I felt at some point there was all of these, like, I felt more like a collection of moments than one long plot. And that was really surprising to me, given the film had a very strong through line. So it wasn't what I expected on that point. In terms of, I had a similar reaction to the Moon's a Harsh Mistress, so that it was what I expected. But in terms of, it really felt like vignettes as opposed to one overarching plot, so that was unexpected. Number 3, will I read more from the author? I forgot that was one of the questions. I will. Honestly, at this point, I'm feeling like it's not something that makes a lot of sense for me to do. That being said, I do have a copy of Stranger in a Strange Land, and that is not only on the Sci-Fi Fantasy and Weird list, I think it's also one of the oldest books on my Goodreads TBR, which is another list that I'm working my way through. So I think I will give that one a shot, but I might be more likely to DNF it if I'm not feeling it. I have heard things about that one that make me think that might be a better fit than other titles, but if I had not heard that and I didn't have a copy on my shelf, which I picked up at Bookends at some point, then I would definitely just say, I think I've seen enough. I think this just really isn't a good fit for me, and leave it. But I will give that one book one more shot. Okay, and then one of my other questions I have for Sci-Fi Fantasy and Weird is it the genre that it said it is stated? Yes, it is definitely science fiction. It is military science fiction. The one point that I can't quite figure out is how much social commentary is it making, if at all, because sometimes we do get that in science fiction, and I did feel The Moon is a Harsh Mistress had more. For this, I don't know if it wasn't part of it, or if it wasn't clear enough, or I just, as a reader, wasn't invested enough to stick with it enough. But to be honest, I'm actually really impressed that I stuck with it, because it was tough. I was not enjoying it. I am someone who doesn't DNF very often, but I was close on this one. That being said, I do now want to watch the movie. I have such good memories of this movie, even though I think I don't think it's a great movie. But I watched it with my sister and my brother in the theater, and maybe one of his friends, and I remember going out afterwards and talking about it, and just those discussions about how over the top it was such a great movie to watch for those reasons, because you had so much to say. Can you believe that? And can you believe this? And all of that. I still think about that. Do you want to know more? Because that was still like early days internet, and so it wasn't as obvious as clicking on something is now, like in terms of like something popping up or whatever. So it was really interesting in that case. But it's certainly not a favorite movie of mine, but it is on Netflix, so I have a feeling I will be watching it, and it's just one of those movies that's just so over the top, like you can't take it seriously, which made it challenging coming to the book, and because I felt like I was supposed to take it seriously. So there was a huge disconnect there. So I don't know. Let me know, have you read Starship Troopers? Did you read it before or after seeing the movie? Have you seen the movie? Did you like the movie? Yeah, so this was a bit of a weird one. It has been a while since I have read or finished something from this, and I don't know when the next time. I have not been making as much progress on this list as I would have liked, so hopefully I will in the future. But those are my thoughts on Starship Troopers. Let me know yours, and I'll be back soon with another video. Thank you so much for watching.